Hello, welcome to the new video lesson 3 on how to invest in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. If you have not already done so, click on the subscribe now to the YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you can be notified when I premiere new videos, when I do live streams, and also so that you can participate in the comment section as you watch this video. Okay, having said that, let me know if you like what I'm doing, trying to give my financial knowledge, what I can do better, which topics you don't cover in the future, and you can do that in the comment section. Otherwise, if you like what you're seeing, leave a like on this video. It helps others to see the video, and also it encourages me to make more and more of these videos. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, cool. So for today, the lesson will be covering dividends. So it's a continuation of what I covered in lesson 2. And the thing is to make a case for dividend investing. So there are a few things that, and I'll cover in detail in future, some of these topics, but some of the things that work for dividends, as I said in the previous video, is the passive nature. So money actually works for you. You invest and then money starts coming as you do other activities or even in your sleep. Okay, so that's the first thing that I like about dividends, their passive nature. The second thing is they are taxed favorably. So dividends are taxed at 5%. And what I've come to realize from my personal finance experience and knowledge is not all income is created equal. So case in point, your salary will be taxed at 30% at the highest band. Obviously, it's across various bands. Your interest will be taxed at 15%. Your dividends will be taxed at 5%, and capital gains for investments in the Nairobi Stock Exchange will be taxed at 0%. So if you're somebody who wants to optimize your tax burden, then you'd want to invest in or expose yourself to dividend returns, which are tax favorably at 5%, or at least capital gains, which are taxed at 0%, to the best of my knowledge as per the recording of this video. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. So passive nature. Number 2, favorable tax. And then number 3, it allows you to do what I was teaching guys with money market funds, which is to compound. So whereas it might not compound monthly as money market funds do, the annual dividends that you earn, if reinvested, then will compound annually. And I'll cover this and demonstrate this on how to grow your wealth using investment in stocks in a later video, and also I'll cover on the issue of the tax. Okay, so that's that with the dividends. So let's go through a hypothetical company I've used. So as you remember in the video that I made, that is lesson 2, the price that you buy a stock or a share actually determines so many things for you. So it first gives you headroom in terms of, if you buy at below the book value, then it means that you can wait out until the real value is realized. Okay, so it means you almost lock in your capital gains and it's just a matter of time. So that's the first thing with purchasing at the right price. Then the second thing is actually something that somebody asked me on the comment section in my last video. Where do I get information on the actual dividend yields for the companies that are listed in the stock exchange? You can get that in the newspaper, you can get that in various web portals. However, what you won't get is the real dividend yield, and that is what I'm trying to correct with this video and with this template. Okay, the reason for this is dividend yield, or your actual real dividend yield, is affected by the price that you purchase it. What you'll see in the newspaper and in the web forums is actually the dividend yield based on the price of the company on that day. So it actually distorts, because somebody who invested at a lower price actually locked in a higher dividend yield. Okay, and I'll use an example of Barclays Bank of Kenya, which is a share I bought when it was 7 bob, and I stupidly sold it at 10 bob because I panicked because of some news I saw in the web. Okay, so and actually that reminds me of actually a number of lessons that I learned from that interaction. Number one, do your own research and invest only because you are happy with the fundamentals of that company, not because some analysts say that this is the stock to buy, or Nahashon say that this is a stock that he loves, or insert name of whoever guru that is talking about stock exchange. And the reason for this is, well, it didn't happen with Barclays, but I remember there's a share that I bought just because somebody I respected in terms of this analysis was actually rooting for it, but it ended up being a bad purchase. And it just reminds me of why you should buy stocks that you have analyzed yourself and which you think you're happy with the fundamentals of the stock and the company. Then the second thing is, again, if a company's fundamentals are intact and they remain as valuable as you saw them the first time you're buying them, then I would recommend long-term investing. And the reason for this is, I mentioned fear and greed are the two emotions that affect the stock market. And if you make the mistake like I did here, where I sold a stock that actually had good fundamentals at 10 bob, having purchased it at 7 bob with a dividend yield of 12%, then you actually, let me demonstrate what happens and how you lose. So during the course of that period, Barclays Bank of Kenya actually increased their dividend payout. So they moved from 1 shilling to 1.1. With 0.2 at interim, normally as per last year what I checked, and a final dividend of 0.9. So it means if I had held out to this on this stock, I would have earned, I would have locked in a dividend yield of 15.71%, almost guaranteed if BBK continues maintaining this high dividend yield. And that's the advantage of long-term investing and purchasing at the right price. Right now, the BBK stock is trading at 13 bob. So it means if you buy today, and what you'll see in the newspaper, what you'll see in the web forums is a dividend yield of 8.46%. But somebody who bought it at 7 bob or even lower, when especially when, because some of these banking stocks, their prices went down due to the capping, the interest capping, the interest rate capping law. Once it came in, that news, many people panicked, and these banking stocks were actually being sold for heavy discounts. So this was one of the cases. So you can see how purchasing at the right price affects your dividend yield. So if this person who buys it at 7 bob never sells this share, and Barclays continues paying that dividend, then it means, or even they increase the dividend, then it means they'll be getting in an almost guaranteed return of 15.71%, and that can do wonders if compounded, and we'll cover that in future videos. Okay, so I hope you got the point in terms of the importance of price. So let me take you through how to use this template. Okay, so the first field is the number of shares that you own in that company in total, and then this, and you'll see that there are pop-ups on the right side. These are supposed to guide you as you're filling this. Okay, these should be your average price for buying this. So these 5,000 shares, you might buy them in tranches of 1,000, 100, depending on your capital and also your purchasing pattern. But if you buy them over a period of time, then it means you need to put in your average price. Normally in your online trading platform, they will show you the average price that you bought shares for. I'll also show you how you can do that in a template that you will make in the future. Okay, then the interim dividend, this is usually quoted in the Nairobi Securities Exchange corporate actions, and you can find it in various forums. Okay, and companies can issue dividends in a number of ways. So number one, they can decide to give an interim dividend and then top it up with a final dividend. And in some cases, companies also issue special dividends, but I'll cover that when we get to that section. So here you just input the dividend, the interim dividend that was declared by the company, in this case 0.2, final dividend declared at year end, put it there. Okay, special dividend, these some companies issue special dividends when they go through transactions, or there was a good year, so they made more money than they anticipated, or maybe they sold an asset. And what I want to say about special dividend is you can input the special dividend. So let's give an example of 0.05. Let's assume this company, that's not exactly what they did, but let's assume they issued a special dividend because that year they sold a subsidiary or something. Okay, what you'll see is, and let me just undo that, you'll see initially for somebody who purchased at 7 bob, their dividend yield was 15.71%. However, in that year they'll have a dividend yield of 16.43%. So all I need to say is you can note the number and feel good about it, but normally these are usually once-off kind of transactions. So I would know the number, but then I would come and just put a zero there because I want to understand the dividend going forward, that I should expect. Okay, so this is an automatic calculation. It basically shows you your actual dividend yield, so not the fake one that you'll see in the newspapers, but the actual dividend yield based on your average purchasing price for the stock that you own. Okay, and this is automatic. You just input the numbers and it calculates for you automatically. Okay, this field, what it does, it shows you the net yield. So remember I said the government takes 5% of the dividend that you make. So this is again is an automatic calculation. So, and this is an important number because you actually, and we'll cover it in the compounding lesson, but you actually want to use the number net of tax, because the difference between these two is not your money, it's the government's money. Okay, and then this is again an automatic calculation, and what basically it does, it takes the dividend that has been declared once you fill these forms, these cells, and the number of shares, and it shows you exactly what you should expect in the bank. Okay, so this helps in terms of anticipating and planning for the future. So it helps just in the rare scenario somebody made a mistake and they paid you the wrong dividend amount, you can use this as a way to check. Okay, so I think that's that with the real dividend yield calculator. Let me know if there are anything that you want me to improve in terms of this template, but I have so many ideas on it. It's just the beginning template, but I'll keep on improving it, and I'll continue sharing updates of the template to the guys in my mailing list. Okay, having said that, let's go back to something that I mentioned about dividends, and this is the fact that dividends, they are passive investments, which is a powerful thing. And I can just sum it up as mind-blowing when I actually figured out this concept. And what I want to say is you can actually live for free, using dividends, or at the very least you can cover expenses with some of the companies that you spend money on, and they just happen to be listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. So I want to demonstrate with a few examples. So let's assume every month you spend 500 with RTGS and other expenses from Barclays Bank. Okay, 500 times sales, that's 6,000. So let's assume you want to bank for free. You want, at the very least, Barclays Bank should pay me a dividend that covers the bank charges they charge me, hence getting a free service. Okay, if they pay me anything above that, then it means I'm not only taking back the money that I gave them, but I'm also earning something on top. Okay, so having said that, that's why I came up with this dividend lifestyle calculator. And the way to use it is input your target expense. Okay, and they'll show different scenarios of how you can use this thing. Okay, so in this case, we just want to ensure we are getting a free service from a company that is listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, in this case BBK, 6,000. Okay, this is an automatic formula that basically shows out of this 6,000 how much, or your target expense, how much is covered by your dividends. So it shows you earned a net dividend of 5,225, against a target of 6,000. So it means you're not quite there, but 87% of an expense covered without you putting in any extra effort due to the passive nature of dividends is quite a nice proposition. Okay, and then this dividend buffer shows you how much is remaining for you to cover this expense. So it will turn red if that number is not yet 100% here. So it shows you just need 775 to cover your expense. So assuming in the next year you now have 6,000 shares, you increased your shareholding. Okay, so means you earn more dividends, and you'll see this is an automatic calculation. It turns green to show that you actually have covered your target expense and you now have a buffer. Okay, so that's a nice way of using this template. So, and you can use this concept with any company that is listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. I can't believe that nobody told me this when I was starting to invest in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. You know, this thing of when I say I'm serious that you should not chase the capital gains, they should be an icing on the cake. Yeah, but in the meantime, you should be earning money from your investments that can help fund your lifestyle. A good example is Safaricom. For example, Safaricom, we spend airtime and data, and let's assume in a year you spend, let's say, 10,000. Okay, and it's interesting actually with Safaricom because at some point it went to almost a low of 2.5 shillings. So, but let's assume you got in at 3 bob, after its IPO when it fell down. And Safaricom, if I'm not wrong, they issued a dividend, and these are just estimates, but I know it's a very close number. But their dividend was about 1 bob with an interim dividend, and they actually issued a special dividend, which I'm going to ignore here. But just note that this is not an actual number. You need to check the actual dividend they issued this year, but I know it's close to 1, and that's something that is mind-boggling. Like, I just envy guys who bought Safaricom at 3 bob and 2 bob or even 5 bob, the actual IPO listing price, and held onto that stock. So to further demonstrate the beauty of long-term investing, and number 2, buying shares at the right price. If you bought at 5 bob and this dividend has been growing, right now it's 1 bob, and you held that stock without even looking at the capital gains, it means you own a share that is giving you an almost guaranteed return given the profits that Safaricom makes of 20%. Now, where can you get such a return in Kenya without it being a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi? Okay, so that's the beauty of long-term investing, purchasing at the right price. Right now, Safaricom is trading at, I saw some news where it has hit all-time highs. I think it was 35, but let's assume 33. Somebody buying Safaricom today enjoys a dividend yield of approximately 3% compared to somebody who invested at 5 bob. And that's the power of purchasing at the right price. Okay, so just something for you to think about. Okay, what do I want to say? So let me just return the 33. But all these things don't affect anything. My point was, let's assume you spend 4,800 on airtime in a year. Okay, so let's assume middle class person spends 2,000 multiplied by 12, so 24,000, and maybe that is just airtime without the data. Okay, so let's assume you wanted to get free airtime from Safaricom, free, because you're earning dividends from them. Okay, so if you have 6,000 shares bought at the current price of 33, again, people bought it earlier in in Nirvana, it means you'd make 5,700, and that would not cover your your airtime purchases. So it only covers 24,000, and it means on a net basis, Safaricom is making money from you. Okay, so if you wanted to increase this, then you'd have to increase the number of shares. Let me play around with this and just say 20,000 shares and see. So you'd need, let's make even 33,000. Okay, 33,000 number of shares, which means that 33 bob, you'd need 33 times that as your initial capital. Okay, so you can see in this situation, for it's hypothetical, you can always play around with this to get the exact number, but it means with 33,000 shares, you'd get a dividend of 31,000, and it means that covers your expenses and you are left with money. So it means this person is not only getting back the airtime expenses that he spent with Safaricom, but he's also making money on top of that investment of 7,350. And you can use this concept with any stock that is listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange to figure out how to live for free. I just want to return it to the way it was. And I think as a final point is, you can go and we'll go through the list of entities that are listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, but this concept, you can use it with any of those entities. So let's say, for example, you purchase a newspaper or you subscribe to the e-newspaper and you spend 40 bob per day. Multiply that by 365, get your annual spend, and then think NMG, Nation Media, is one of also some of the dividend paying companies. How many shares do I need to invest in NMG for me to cover my expenses? You can use the same concept with things like KPLC and KenGen in the situation where they're paying dividends. How much do I need to invest in those stocks for me to get back my electricity expenses and basically live for free in terms of electricity? But don't, I think a word of caution, still look at the fundamentals of those companies. So you don't want to say that you are now investing in KPLC because you want to take back your electricity expense, and then with these issues that have come up with the company, then maybe like last year they never issued a dividend. So again, as I said, these things are not cast in stone. It depends on the underlying fundamentals of that company. Is it performing well? Are they able to continue paying dividends? But that said, it doesn't mean that you have to own KPLC for you to cater for that expense. The other way of doing this is looking at your target expenses. And let's use a simple example. Let's say I wanted to cover monthly expenses of 70,000. Okay, and I want to do this by investing in a share like Williamson Tea, which is actually the highest. It and its sister company Kapchorua, I think they were the highest in terms of dividend deal last year. So let's say you own 10,000 shares for illustrative purposes of this, and you bought it currently. I think that share is trading at around 135. Okay, and based on last year, they issued a final dividend of 20 bob. So maybe you can pause there and see the actual dividend yield for Williamson Tea. So currently, based on the current price, it's actually trading at 14.81% dividend yield. That's brilliant. If they continue giving this dividend amount, that's a return that it's very hard for you to get that in Kenya. Okay, but that's the thing with investing in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. You actually get these deals. And I was actually looking at that share. Its book value is, I think it's in the range of 300 and above. So you can imagine somebody who purchases the share and this book value is realized one day, then it means over and above the dividends they enjoy across the period in which that book value has not been realized. If that book value is realized, for example, and the share goes to its real book value. You can check. This is just for illustrative purposes. I just remember the number is around 300. It means that person has locked in a capital gain of almost 200 for each share they own. So that would be almost 200 times 10,000. Okay, and that's the beauty of long-term investing. If you can find a situation where a company has the right fundamentals, it has the cherry on top of paying good dividends, and it's trading at a significant discount to its book value, then that's an opportunity. As Warren Buffett says, you need to take in a bucket rather than a thimble. Okay, but back to my illustration. It means that somebody with 10,000 shares would get a net dividend cash in the bank of 190,000. So it means that would cover the expenses almost 3 times. Okay, and that's how you use this. So it means, yes, I bought shares of Williamson, and my target was to cover my expenses, all of it, rent, electricity, newspaper, etc. But you can still get the same by investing in another company that has better fundamentals. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to cover in terms of this lesson. Hope you find it valuable. Please leave a like if you find it valuable, because it helps other people to get these free lessons, and my idea is to increase the scope of people who get to learn from this. It's my way of giving back and how I want to be remembered. It's like a legacy project. Okay, in the meantime, I've left some notes here. So as I said, the templates that I create, I give access to people who meet certain conditions. So for this one, I think the people who are on my mailing list, I think once I premiere this video, I'll give it like 2 days for people to join the mailing list, and then after 2 days, I'll send an email giving access to this template for people to use. And that will be people who will be on my mailing list within 2 days of this video premiering. Okay, I'll go further that if you can send me confirmation that you're a YouTube subscriber and leave a like on this video, so you can just take a screenshot as evidence. Then what I'll do is I'll also give you additional access where you can print your dividend results, and use that as a way to record your current yield, and also as a way to track. Okay, and as always says, again, the idea is to increase the audience so that you can reach as many people as possible and try and transform lives financially. So if the YouTube channel gets to 2,000 subscribers, then this template will automatically be accessible to everyone to use the way they want: download, print it, take screenshots, etc. Okay, so I hope you found that video lesson useful. I bought a new mic, feel very professional. So I hope the sound quality has improved for the guys who are talking about sound quality. And actually, one of the things I'll do is I'll create a video, because one of the lessons that I'll cover in the future is how to make money online. I'll also create a video of the tools that I use in making some of these videos. The idea is, if I can actually give advice to anyone, is whatever you want to do, just start. You can always perfect these things. So if you watch my earlier videos, I think I was using a headset, and there's so many things that I can improve with even this video, but I've decided to make it a process. What is important is the lesson. These other beautiful things, illustrations, a nice microphone, I don't know what, can always come incrementally. So yeah, I think enjoy the lesson, and just know that I'll continue improving as time goes by. Okay, finally, see you in the next lesson. Subscribe if you haven't, and join the mailing list. I'll leave the link to the mailing list in the description. See you in the next one. Bye bye. Bye bye for real.